I love doing this in one take. You just really never know what the freak is going to happen. All right, I am Sam Haymart, and this is Kitchen Table episode 39 for December 28th of 2025. This is our last episode of 2025. And 2025 is the first year we've done this show all year long. Started out as a YouTube weekly episode, now still a YouTube weekly episode, and now a podcast that is up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Substack. And we're going to be expanding that throughout the next year. So anywhere you find your podcasts, at least the major spots, you can get Kitchen Table. And what is Kitchen Table? Kitchen Table is my weekly check-in with you, our listeners and viewers, where we talk about the things that are going on at my kitchen table, as well as the kitchen table of the LGBTQ plus fishbowl I find myself in, issues, news, things I'm interested in, and things that I think about. And we always start our show out with the daily meme, which can be found on our social media, all four food groups: Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and Blue Sky. We don't do the X because X is bad. The daily meme for today is actually a quote from Marsha P. and it is simply this: keep them as a flower inside you. Now, without some context, it's really hard to know what that means if you just hear it. And I'm going to give you some context, because what she's talking about in this particular quote was back during the late 80s and the early 90s before she passed. She was a caregiver for a lot of her friends in the community in New York that were dying of AIDS. That was the AIDS crisis. She was a caregiver for a lot of people. And so over those years, she lost a lot of friends and loved ones in her community. And she always had this positive attitude towards these things, and how she looked at life and how she dealt with these tragedies that would occur. And what she said about her friends and loved ones that had passed was she would keep them as a flower inside of her to always look at and to cherish. And I bring it up this week because I myself in our local gay community here lost a friend just before the holidays. Someone who, beautiful man, a little bit younger than I am, died of a tragic circumstance. And, he was somebody that I was relatively tight with, in the sense that I loved this person and we had a lot in common. I would see them around regularly, and while we weren't besties, we were getting up close to that. And he's going to be missed, not only by myself, but his family and many of the people of our community here. And all of us, as we grow older, the older we get, we have friends that come and go. We have family that come and go. And the best thing I can do for my friend who passed this week is to keep him as a flower in my heart. I'm very sad about it. I've kind of gotten past the crying, which I've done a lot of this last couple of days as we led up to Christmas. But he and his best friend passed away last year of the same circumstance. It's been hard for everybody, but we will keep him as a flower in our heart. We will keep him as a flower inside of us. And that's just, I really appreciate Marsha's way of looking at things. It's helped me to sort of put these things into perspective myself when it's dealing with this, because at my mid-50s age, I anticipate losing a lot more friends, not only to old age, but to sickness and to tragedy. And it's just a part of life. And as we get older, we learn how to deal with this on a little bit more of a, I hate to say a business-like way, but we learn to practice acceptance and practice putting some joy in there where we can. And that's that. So I do want to talk about 2025. One of the things I hate about this time of year is whenever you turn the news on, you look at your favorite website, you turn on the radio, they're always doing their top this and that of the last year, right? Everybody does it. The winners, the losers, the top 10, the yah. And I'm going to do it too, but I'm going to be a little bit more focused on it. It's not a top 10 list. I just think that in this last year that we've all lived through, especially in our community, shit show 2025, I've been calling it. Now that we're going into the next year of it, it's going to be called the Great Red Hat Shit Show. And if you know, you know what I mean. I don't really want to get into explanations. If you know what the Great Red Hat Shit Show is, last January, we launched into a 10-part video series called Surviving Anti-LGBTQ plus Politics. And it was just an entire strategy TED Talk series on how to deal with what was coming at us. But little did we know really how bad it was going to be. And we don't know how bad it's going to get. In this last year of watching terrible things happen, watching friends of ours get taken away, watching their rights be taken away, watching them being made fun of, watching them being insulted by the people that are elected to be in power to protect us. In my own personal life, I have learned to compartmentalize that to some degree. I'm still affected by it. I'm still upset by it. And there's a lot of things in my life that have been affected by it, a lot of people in my life that have been affected by it. And so some of this might sound like cis white privilege, but I would tell you at the end of my little list here that most of what I'm talking about are things that all of us can do, because there are a great many things out there we cannot control in our lives. All of that stuff going on out there, what's happening with government, what's happening out there in the world, societal changes, things like that. But there are things that we can control that they cannot take away. And that is how we practice our daily steps, how we act in the world, how we bring ourselves to the world. And I believe those are the things that have helped me to have one of the best years of my own personal life, in spite of all the terrible things. And in some ways, it's because of these things that have forced me to really focus on how I'm living my days so that I can make the best life possible. Make lemonade out of lemons, as they say. So let me get through the list so we can get on to the next fun thing here. In 2025, I experienced love felt for others and given to me. Now, this is primarily my husband, but I have family. I have a chosen family out here in my community, which I can see out my window right now. I have felt love for many people, not only that I have close to me, but for people that are far away that I've never met. Stories that I've heard, people that I've gotten to know through social media. I have felt the love inside for them, and I've expressed that to them in a lot of ways. Not only telling them that I love them, but I've been told that I've been loved. That is a very powerful thing in life that we can develop in our lives and we can choose to participate in, that has nothing whatsoever to do with what's going on out there. We can still choose to love, and we can set ourselves up in life to be loved. And part of that's being lovable, and that's a whole nother episode, but that is the first thing on my list of high points for the last year. The next one is that I've cried in happiness and in sadness. I have learned to let myself feel my feelings. And so I cry. I cry at weddings. I cry at movies. Don't put me in front of Coco. I will cry every time. I have felt sadness this year, and I've cried my eyes out, and I cry for happiness. Sometimes I just cry when I have high emotion. I've let myself do that. That's part of what makes me gay, probably, but I think that's a good thing. It's a powerful thing to allow yourself that privilege, to allow yourself that joy, and to allow yourself that venting if you need it. So I've cried. One of the more tangible things is I got to see the LGBTQ plus monument that they put up in Palm Springs. Of all the things that I did this year, that is the one that sticks out as one of the most memorable, powerful moments, was seeing this beautiful piece of artwork that was erected this year in Palm Springs, and just feeling the energy of a city that embraces its community, and in spite of everything going on out there, is putting a forward-facing support to our community. That really touched me quite deeply, and it's beautiful. If you go to Palm Springs, it's right in the town square. You got to go see it. It doesn't cost anything except getting to Palm Springs. Next thing on the list is I made a lot of new connections with my community, and I made a lot of new friends, and I reconnected with some of my family members who I wasn't so close with in the past. And those are all things you can do even when shit show is going on around you. And some of those things have to do with my outreach work that I do with Ripple PHX. I do HIV testing, and I do outreach in the sense of talking about sexual health. And I do that here too on our show. And so I've made a lot of connections with the community by doing that work, by getting out and doing those things. I've met new friends in that process as well. My husband has joined a new leather club here in the Southwest region, And we've been traveling around to some different events, Los Angeles, Palm Springs, and we've met a lot of new people. That is something that happens by doing. And a lot of us in our community right now are really hungry for that because of everything going on out there. It is healthy for us to get out and really find people to unite with and find people to be in the boat with during times like this. I've done that. I've had job growth in my day job, in my career, and that was not because I'm a brilliant, great person at it. It's because I was able to take advantage of some educational courses to broaden my appeal to my employer and to educate me in a new line of work. And it's in the healthcare field. And that enabled me to take on a new position in the company and do pretty well. And it's scary to do that. I was scared of doing it. It took a lot of guts for me to step out and take a risk like that. But I want to better my life. I want to have better things. I want to be able to travel more. I want to have more security in my life. Don't we all, right? We all want to have more. So in that way, I just took steps in my own personal career growth area to do the footwork to get there. And in this last year, I've seen the rewards of that just a little bit. I'm not rich and famous, but I'm doing a little bit better than I was exactly a year ago today. I found deeper purpose in work and in community, and we talked about that with the connections, and that's because I found things to volunteer to do. I found things to support. And with this show, now we don't have a huge audience here. We don't have hundreds of thousands of views, hundreds of thousands of listeners. In fact, I can probably count most of our audience each week on my hands and my feet. But that's okay with me because I know many of you out there who are watching and listening, and I hear from you. You comment on our videos, you send me messages through our social media, and I'm getting to know some of you, and that's part of that connection. If anything I get out of this, it's connecting with people that I may never get to meet because you're in different parts of the world. Hopefully maybe I get to someday, because some of you are darn cute. I got to tell you, I moved to a new home due to that work that I talked about. My company, after a year of working there in the office in a new job in a new position, they said, guess what? You're all going to go work from home from now on. And I wasn't set up for that where I used to live. And so we had to upgrade into a larger, nicer place where I have my own office. And now that affords us our own studio here, in addition to the other side of this desk being my workspace for my day job. And it's been a good move. And because of the way the market works, it's such that we didn't really have to spend more money than we were spending to have the smaller place. So I have gratitude. And that was a nice little thing that happened this year. And the fact that the market's what it is probably in part due to shit show 2025. And so that's a reward that can be reaped. Sometimes you take advantage of these things. The last thing I'll share with you on my little list here of high points of 2025 is that the Great Red Hat Shit Show has been awful. It's been very saddening for me to watch what's happening to our country. And it's not just our leaders. It's seemingly half the population out there that's on board with all of the things that are happening. And this movement of just nastiness and hate and anger and retribution, all of these things. What I have seen, though, in spite of all of these terrible things that are happening and that have been happening over the last year, is I have been seeing our community unite. I've been seeing other communities that are marginalized, whether it be culture, whether it be race, whether it be sex, sexual identity. All of us are on the same boat together, and I have seen us fight together in the last year. I have seen groups go to court and fight and win against the powers that be. And what I am seeing in a lot of these big protests, a lot of the big demonstrations that we've seen over the last year, is that there are people that do really care about what's right and what's wrong. They care about our country. They care about people other than themselves. And they're willing to stand up and fight for it. So I've been given hope. In spite of all of the terrible things, I've been given hope in the last year that we have a chance at putting this back together at some point. I always like to say that the pendulum does swing. It swings, and it will swing back the other way. And so I'm looking forward to that, and I do have hope that that's going to happen. Yeah. So now something a little bit more fun. I feel like I'm always the last person to come upon things, right? There are people that know about these new movies and new shows and that they follow all of the TV and entertainment. I'm not one of those guys. I'm always like the last one in line that gets informed of the next thing coming out. I didn't see Wicked until it was almost time for the second one to come out, kind of a thing. All the gays had seen Wicked. Although I was one of the first to see Wicked too, because I was guilted into it. So I got to talk about a TV show that it's already gone through its first season. I had never even heard about it until this week when one of my gay friends goes, "Oh, you've got to see this. It just got picked up for a second season." And that is Heated Rivalry on Max. Also available on Hulu and Prime if you have the upgrades. Heated Rivalry. Oh my God, this is so bingeable. My husband and I have watched all of the episode in a matter of a couple of days. We sat yesterday. I'm recording this on the day after Christmas as I sit here right now. We spent half of Christmas Day watching this. So Heated Rivalry is a Canadian sports romance directed by Jacob Tierney. It follows the stories of two different romances between male hockey players. Yeah, male hockey players. The main story follows professional hockey players Shane Hollander, played by Hudson Williams, and Ilya Rozanov, played by Connor Story. They're fierce rivals on the ice, but they fall into this high energy sexual relationship off the ice. And at first it's casual, but then over the years, and this really goes through almost a decade of time in very short order across the different episodes, but they develop this romantic sort of, not love-hate, but it's highly tensioned relationship, not only because it's secret, but because they live in two separate lives in this professional environment, and they're trying to keep it secret, but they're having feelings and they're worlds apart. You've got Ilya and Russia, and oh my gosh, the whole thing is just filled with tension and drama. A lot of sex scenes, a lot of lovemaking, and it's paralleled with another romance, which has another couple of hotties in it, which is hockey player Scott Hunter, who's played by Francois Arnaud, and his barista that he falls in love with, Christopher Grady, played by Robbie GK. This is introduced as kind of a parallel love story to the other one, and these guys really hit it off and fall into a deep love, and they have to keep it secret because Scott Hunter's a big famous player, and so it's that push and pull again of having to keep this love secret and not being able to be fully out about it. And that's kind of a backdrop for the other two, which are the main story players. And this just has a lot of love scenes. It's got a lot of great storytelling that somehow is put together and just cobbled up pieces here and there. And it basically goes throughout the entire season, building up the tension to the moment when Scott Hunter decides to come out and give his relationship and his lover and his own sexuality the sunlight that it deserves. And he wins the big championship with his team, and then he invites his boyfriend down onto the ice, and they have an impassioned kiss moment, which made it all over the internet in the last week. That's how I came to know about the show myself, was everyone posting the kiss scene. When the other two actually watched this separately at their own places, they were texting each other in amazement going, "Did you just see this? What are they doing? Oh my God." And it inspired them to decide to spend some more time together in the coming summer. And that was the end. That was the season finale. And it just got picked up for a second season. So that means that there's going to be more. And from what I read about season 2, it's going to be a continuation of Hollander and Rosanov's relationship a decade later, still dealing with the tension and all of the continued challenge that they have. It's just really a touching show. It made me cry, made me laugh, and it made me touch myself during watching some of the scenes, I have to admit. So it's really good. If you're a gay guy, you'll love watching this. If you're anyone, you should love watching this, right? It shouldn't just be for the gays, but it's a well done series, and the next season's going to be not right away. From what I read here and what I wrote down in my notes here, they're saying it's going to be in 2027 because they just got it approved. They have to write it, film it, produce it in this coming year. So, Heated Rivalry, check it out. That's the show today in all of the content. I absolutely love this opportunity to sit once a week and just be myself. And I like to dress up in my leather because it's an expression of who I am, and I like to put that on screen. I like to put that out there. And this is usually what I'm wearing when you will see me at IML or some of the other big leather conferences. And so it'll just make it easier for you to find me in a dark space. So that is it. You can find us on our website, growingoldergay.com. You can find us on social media, all the major 4 food groups. And that is, of course, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and Blue Sky. You can find us on Spotify, Substack, and Apple Podcasts every week, or wherever you find your podcasts, depending on when you actually listen to this. And most importantly, you can find us on YouTube, which, if you're watching right there next to me to my left, you will see a little square peg, which is our latest video, and a little round peg, which is the subscribe button. Click one of them. Either way, stay tuned.